In today's video, I'm going to show you some of my favourite low splits moves. Some of these are real splits, fake splits, not even almost splits, but they're called splits, so I really hope you enjoy it. Make sure you have safely warmed up your splits and that you've been taught safely how to do these moves before giving them a go. Headstand into a bow and arrow. You can get into your headstand however you want to, but as soon as you're up there, keep pushing through the shoulders as much as you can, and you can hook one leg on the pole before taking your other leg out straight forwards. It can be really hard to make sure that front leg is straight, so squeeze your quads and point your toes, and lift that leg a little bit higher if you need to make sure that leg is super straight. Your top leg will probably have a slight bend as it's trying to hold you on the pole, but the less you flex the foot, the straighter that back leg can go. You can also apply this to your handstand. Handstand to a cheeky little split into a crucifix. You might have to play around with the distance from your standing leg to the pole and then your hands to your standing leg to be able to figure out the perfect position for you to go into your split. You can keep your bottom leg super straight, but the top leg will probably need to bend ever so slightly before you push the foot into the pole and lift up into your crucifix. You can hold that split position with your hands on the floor for as long as you want to, and then sneak up into the crucifix before squeezing your legs on and taking your hands off of the floor. Flag split! This one for me is definitely about the angles. So if you see it from one angle, it looks super splitty, and if you see it from a different angle, not quite so splitty unless you've got an amazing split, which I'm sure you have. The same leg as the top arm straightens up and it pushes into that top arm to help you lift up your back leg. You can then use a mirror, a camera, or a person to help tell you when your legs are straight. That free leg, the second leg that lifts, really kicks back behind you, so use your butt muscles to keep that leg lifted and keep it pushing back. Split heel pose. This one's a little straddle, or it can look a bit more of a box split depending on the angle. If you do this one up the pole, you can slide into more of a box split, but we'll keep it on the floor for now. As you first come into this one, you want to lean towards that standing leg as much as possible to be able to help you lift up that back leg. If you need to, bend that back leg, but when you feel you can, keep that back leg super straight as you lift it up. If you stand up from this one, it's a cute little move. If you keep both hands on the pole, I find it tends to look more splitty, depending on the angles of course. So again, play around with angles to see which one you prefer. You can also take the top arm off the pole and lean away from the pole, which just makes a really cute shape. REIKO split. While that front leg on the pole can always be super straight and needs to be, it's quite hard to keep yourself in a proper split unless your active flexibility is on point. Even though I can do the splits on the floor, that back leg simply doesn't want to lift up high enough for me, so you can keep that back leg super straight or bent depending on what look you prefer. Superman into a split, a fake split, or a lunge. You might need to play around with the height of your Superman to be able to make sure that you can comfortably come to the floor. And I tend to take the same leg as the arm on the pole forward for my split, but that is personal preference. So when you are at a good height, you should hopefully be able to take your free hand to the floor, and I take the same leg as my free hand to the floor, and I like to put the top of my foot on the floor, although if you slide to a split that might be a bit uncomfortable and you might want socks, but I feel we can handle it at this point. From there we can take the same leg as the top arm forward into a split or a fake split. Your split here will naturally turn out to the side just because of the angle that we're at, but if you want to push into more of a true split you can do. And if you prefer a lunge, you can just take that front leg forward onto a tiptoe. And I think that looks really, really pretty as well. Chair into a split or into a lunge. You have to time this one well, so you want your chair spin to slow down quite a lot before you go into your split or your lunge. I tend to take my inside leg forward and I open up my legs as if I'm going to come into a little side straddle first of all. When you slow down enough, then you can turn into your split or your lunge. So I tend to come into a straddle, and as soon as I can get the feet to the floor, I then tend to open up and push down into my split or fake split. Again, this one is going to want to turn you into more of a fake split because you're side on as you land. And if you want to come into a lunge again, split the legs like a little straddle before you land. And I tend to take my inside leg to the floor first and then my outside leg back behind me before lowering my hips into my lunge. Split from the floor. Again, this one is a fake split, but it doesn't have to be a full split to look amazing anyway. Depending on your flexibility, you can either lift straight up into this one or you might need a teeny tiny invert. Your knees are pointing in slightly different directions, which is why this one is definitely going to be a fake split, but it's also why you don't necessarily need a really straight line for this one. So your top knee is slightly turned away from the pole and your bottom knee should hopefully be pointing to the ceiling. So as you lift up, turn your outside knee away from the pole to hook the heel and send your inside leg as far back behind you as you can, and this leg will touch the floor. Lift your chest, look back, arch your back, and then hold this pretty little shape. Floor jade. This will always be one of my favourite fake splits. Again, you want to work on the angles for this one, so I tend to start side on, and I really turn my hips towards the camera or the audience as much as possible. So lift those hips nice and high and take your outside hand underneath the same side hip. I bring my outside leg forward as I turn my hips out to the side and then really try to lower that back leg in particular. That front leg will want to lower down, but that back leg is key for this one. Again, if you're able to look in a mirror or a camera, that's really going to help you figure out your angles. Split planche. This again is a fake split and is all about the angles. So as you come into your lunge, make sure your front leg is closest to your camera or your audience. You can then drop down onto the back arm first as you take your front leg onto the front shoulder. From there, as you come into your split pose, really squeeze your quads and point your toes, and then use your butt muscles on the back leg to lift that leg up as high as possible. And that will be the difference between having a really pretty shape to having an amazing looking split. So use those butt muscles. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to check out some other splits moves, I have that video for you as well. Bye now.